Hi everyone, welcome back to my Armenian Duduk channel. This is Karuna. Today I want to touch some quite specific topic about ornamentation. It's another difficult thing in Armenian Duduk after half tones. Ornaments. Many of you who still don't dare to approach difficult Armenian compositions with a lot of ornamentation could have some hope. I'm quite sure you would like this or that difficult composition. You would say, okay, unless I can properly play those melisma, those chains of ornaments, difficult ornamentation, I cannot come to this composition because I cannot play it. And partly it's true also. I was exactly like you a while before. But now, from this point, I can maybe give you some suggestions. First of all, if you, for example, like Overdenkan or Machkal or whatever difficult Sevmutampere with many melisma and stuff like that. So first of all, what you can do is to look into a couple of versions of this composition on YouTube. And don't neglect old recordings, especially old recordings. There are a couple of names I can call, like Levon Madoyan and Vladimir Arutyunan and also Jivan Gasparyan as well, Vachev Sipan, but Vachev Sipan is not that easy, I would say. What I want to say, if you have a couple of versions of the same composition from different duduk players, or even from the same duduk player, if there are some versions of his performance on this or that melody, then take a couple of them and compare, and you will find out that the same musician even would play this composition in a different way. Even if you take this difficult one, Machkal from Vachev Sipan, there are at least two performances I've heard of him. One is more complicated, one is a little bit less complicated. Both of them are super complicated, of course, but if you compare them phrase after phrase, you will find out that some phrases in this version are simpler than in that version. And like that, you can already combine it and find out a simpler variation for yourself. You can find a solution, you can find a way how to simplify it for yourself. So take a simpler version, especially from the old musicians, old recordings. In that time, people would not show off that much as they do now. I mean, Armenian duduk players. It is in Armenian culture to show off, it's just a part of the mentality, and they show off when they can something and they are able, they just show it like that. And ornamentation is a difficult thing, so everyone, especially young duduk players who can do it, they use a lot of ornamentation in every phrase and like that. In the older times, people would not do that just to play ornaments, just for the purpose of playing ornaments. Ornaments are to support the melody. It's not to substitute the original melody with your version with super many ornaments. It's just a support. And in older times, people would play in a more modest way than today. It's also because of globalization on Earth, of course. The neighbors of Armenia are Azerbaijan, Turkey, Iran. The Muslim culture, they have a lot of ornamentation because they have these makams or mugams. And those mugams culture slowly came to Armenia, and the style of playing of the modern musicians also has changed a lot due to these mugams, because people like this kind of free way of express themselves in the mugam, because mugam invites for this improvisation. And in mugam there are many ornaments, because it comes from those cultures where ornaments are played a lot. That's why I say try to look into the older compositions and listen carefully. They are using not so many ornaments, in fact. And also, of course, if you take 2, 3, 4 different versions, take a version of Jivan Gasparyan if you find it. Because Jivan Gasparyan was somebody who put more focus in his playing on the sound and on the spirit instead of on ornaments. And his versions of the same compositions are sometimes a lot easier than from other musicians. In Armenia, duduk players love a lot, and probably they would say it's number one duduk player Vache Ovsipyan from older times. His sound was great, but he also used to play many ornaments. He would be a little bit difficult to refer to in this way. Most probably you will find out that Jivan's version is simpler and that you can play it. If you already can play a little bit of ornaments, then it will be easier for you. If you cannot play any ornaments at all, it would be probably impossible. But still, I will give you another suggestion, another technical suggestion, which you can use in your practice. As you remember, I told you before, the ornament consists of three main aspects. This is the aspect of playing staccato notes with your throat, or however you play the staccato notes, because there are techniques. Some play it with the tongue, like Azerbaijan school and Turkish school, and sometimes also in Armenia, like Georgi Minasov used to do it, doing it with the tongue or just with the cheeks. But the classical school in Armenia is to do it with the throat, so to play staccato notes. The second aspect of the ornament is to work with the lips, to make this chewing a kind of a chewing motion. Pitching up the note, pitching up and releasing, pitching up and releasing. This is the motion, the movement we have to do. And only the third element, and this is probably the most difficult element in it, is to join the two previous ones with your fingers, and then your fingers are jumping here, and this is by itself quite difficult to move them in that speed. And what is more difficult is to bring all of those three elements together and to be well sounding, not to be confused. You see? And this needs practice, because first the mind is confused how to bring them all together and then sound well. What I want to suggest here for you is to dissect actually the ornament into these three parts and approach them one by one. If the ornament in the composition goes like this, and you are not able to play a melisma like that, you could take away fingers technique and just stay with the staccato notes and maybe with the lips as well. If you are not able to make this chewing motion, then only stay with the notes. Still we are playing the melody. I mean, you can do it like this, everybody can do. Later you can also add those lips movement, and later you can add fingers. But it doesn't mean you cannot learn this or that composition starting from now. If you are already more or less good on duduk, that was not difficult at all. Maybe you are not as fast as Armenian musician would be playing it using a proper technique. But it even gives some gentleness to it, some softness, if you play it in this way, as I showed you now. Just working with staccato notes. And then you are playing actually the phrase. Just the ornament is not that, but you are playing it. Later you can add the lips. Still, we are not using fingers jumping. I'm playing this melisma, but without fingers jumping. This is my suggestion for today. Don't be afraid of difficult compositions. Take them as they are motivating you for practice. I know it by myself, like Overnenka and stuff like that, that motivates us to play duduk. Because those compositions most probably brought us into duduk. Don't be afraid to start learning them. To simplify everything like I showed you now, it is not possible everywhere, probably, or at least it will be not as easy on any scale. If you go, for example, to Sigya on C sharp and you try to play Machkal, it will be more difficult. Not so nice, but still playable. Still we can simplify. You see? But we play. Simplifying. Still possible. Still possible. That was my message for today. Enjoy your duduk practice. That was Karuna. Bye bye.